Who are the members of the band?
Hunter.
Terry, play guitar and sing.
Danny, drums, and Hunter plays bass.
Okay, cool. So what bands got you guys into music?
What bands what?
What bands got you guys into music?
Man, what got me into music?
Yeah.
Jackson 5, the Beatles, Sly and the Family Stone. That's what got me into music. But I mean, what got me into punk rock was, you know, like the Clash, the Stranglers, the Pistols, Wire.
For me, it was like bands like The Jam and the Undertones, and then 60s stuff like The Byrds and the Velvet Underground. And I bought the first REM EP, Chronic Town, when it came out, which was inspirational too. But Jam, Undertones, Buzzcocks, Byrds.
Cool.
I really liked 1970s soft rock, and then when I discovered punk rock, I listened to like nothing but hardcore from 1983 to probably 1990.
Cool. So how about a small history of the band?
We we played our first gig in summer 2010. Our first
14 years.
Our first record came out in the fall of 2011. Well, a little German EP thing, kind of fake thing, came out right or not too long after that. But our first sort of album came out in the fall of 2011 on a Canadian label, Canadian indie label called The Beautiful Music, which has released all of our records, and we done I think, is it 7 albums?
Yep.
And then a Welsh label in the UK put out a vinyl record, a kind of a best of sort of thing, about a year and a half ago. But so we started 2010, 2011 first, and we've been going since then.
We started off as a 4-piece too, and a guy named Bill Crandall played guitar on the first 3 records, and then Steve Hanskin, who you might know was in Minor Threat and Government Issue and so forth. He played on 2 of the records. That was like our wilderness years. No, I shouldn't say that. It was our louder years, and then for the last 2 albums, it's just been a 3-piece, and we're going back in the studio in a couple of weeks again as a 3-piece. But these 2 guys actually played in a band together before this band. They were in this amazing band called Julie Ocean, and short-lived, and I can brag about them because I wasn't in the band. But I went to see them play. They were supposed to be opening up for, I think, Magnetic Morning and another band that was on tour, and they were going to do a tour with them. And I guess their drummer sort of flaked out, like most drummers do, except me. So that night, Terry and Hunter were there. It's like, do you want to start a band? You don't have to try out nothing. Just say yes tonight. And I was like, wow, Julie Ocean, yeah, I'll definitely do that. So, and then about 3 months later, we actually started rehearsing.
So you came from the band Youth Brigade?
Yeah, I mean, my first band was the Untouchables, and then it was Youth Brigade. And, you know, at the risk of name dropping, which they'll give me a hard time about, but in those early days, like in 78, 79, you know, my friends were in Teen Idols and the Untouchables and some other bands, and I had gone to see the Clash play at the Ontario Theatre. And after the show, I was hanging out with Joe Strummer and Mick Jones and Paul Simonon, and Joe Strummer asked me if I played in a band, and I said, no, my best friend's in the band. You know, I'm just sort of happy supporting him and hanging out. And he's like, you got to get off your ass and do something. You can't just be a bystander. And so a couple of weeks later, or I say a couple of weeks, it was probably more a couple of months. The Untouchables lost their drummer. He went off to college, and I volunteered. And that's how it started for me.
Cool. And you also played for Madhouse?
Yeah, I played in Madhouse and Strange Boutique. I played in Swerve Driver. I even played in Iron Cross for a while.
Yeah.
So Sab, who is a Baltimore native, he and I were bandmates for a while. Yeah. I've played in quite a few over the years.
You got any cool tour stories from back then?
Tour stories?
Or show stories?
Yeah, I do. There are some crazy moments for sure, especially with Strange Boutique, because Fred Smith was always a character and kind of out of control. But I do remember when we went and played in South by Southwest, on the way back, we had stopped in a gas station, and Fred started harassing a Mississippi state trooper, and I thought that was going to be it for us.
Yeah.
And I guess the other one was when we went to play with Killing Joke in England. We stupidly, they said, hey, you should come play with us. And we're like, okay, we're going to do it. And so we grabbed all our gear. We tried to go through customs at Heathrow. They confiscated everything. And, because, we were young and stupid. We didn't know that there were certain things you had to do. I mean, Terry lived in England for a while. He played over there. I'm not sure how he got around the legality of it. But when I was in Swerve Driver, we had to keep it very hush-hush. They paid me under the table, and I would hide in the tour bus when we would go to different countries so that they didn't have to give my passport with everybody else's.
Cool. So who had that place play with so far, and where?
Oh, good grief. 160 shows by now, right?
Yeah, we played with a lot of bands that we liked as youth. The Undertones, the Monochrome set,
Chameleons.
Stiffle the -5, which had 2 guys from REM in it, which was kind of fun.
We played with Ian Hunter.
Hunter.
What was your favorite show?
The Rubenus.
What about
I think
you?
the Undertone shows were my favorite.
The Undertone, yeah. What about you? What was your favorite band to play with?
Playing with Jack Grisham from TSO.
That was cool. That was a fun show. That was
a nice guy.
Cool. So how the new record doing?
Well, it's not really a new record anymore. I mean, the last studio thing we did is probably like 2 or 3 years old at this point, right?
Yeah, probably 2.5, 3. Yeah.
And then
It's just the songs we've been doing, for a while. So it's new to. I mean, I think it'd be new to.
it's new to.
Well, I mean, I think it's not like
all
this.
music is new if you haven't heard it before, right?
So we're looking forward to it. We're going to record it with this guy Jeff Sanoff, who made the last 2 other records, and we'll do it in New York, and should be good.
Cool.
We think it's going to be a very, very big hit.
Cool.
It's probably going to be top of the charts.
Selling the dozens.
So
Yeah,
what?
I mean, it could easily sell high 2 digits.
Yeah,
Right?
I think so.
Yeah, easily.
So what are some of your songs about?
They're driven by the melodies. I kind of come up with the music and then sort of just lay some vocals on top of it. These guys all write their parts and chip in, and that kind of creates the whole. They used to kind of be about real people and real things, but they've always also been just sort of abstract. The stuff is really abstract, but I try to use really everyday language and everyday phrases, so it sort of sounds kind of specific, when in fact it's really kind of abstract and made up, for better or worse.
The whole second record's about death.
Yeah, the second album is very much like that. There are kind of themes that come out, whether I mean to it or not. A lot of it is like the passage.
Your
of,
death box.
Yeah, the passage of time. I was trying
Wish
to.
fulfillment.
I was thinking of killing Danny for a while, and I thought. An
Dead in
album
line.
would be
That's a pretty big-
would be
pretty big
just
club.
the thing. So yeah, I don't know. I just try to come up with hooky, energetic songs that I don't feel stupid singing. And sometimes there are about real people and real things, and other times it's just like some words that came into my head, and I just try to use like everyday phrases and everyday language.
Cool. You got any cool .dat stories?
Just the fact that when we first formed, it was just like, oh, cool, maybe we could get a song on a compilation. And I mean, we're super obscure and super small time and super peripheral, but we've gotten like 7 albums and another kind of, so I guess it's really 8 albums. We've played like 150 shows, most of which are with our bands that we're kind of excited to play with. And we've gotten, we're super obscure, but we've gotten tons of good write-ups and reviews and stuff, which doesn't sort of mean anything, but it's kind of satisfying, you know. And I mean, it's not anything more than lots of bands have got, and indeed it's way less than lots of bands have got. But you know, when you form a band, you're sort of just like, oh, what if we could play a few shows? And we've kind of managed to keep it going, which I always wanted to do, but every band I was ever in, it just sort of felt like, oh, you know, this will last 3 months, and this thing has lasted, for better or worse, 15 years, which is kind of silly on one hand, but cool, kind of fun on another, so, you know.
Okay. You got any plans for the future?
Well, just to make this record, whenever it is, in a few weeks or whatever it is, and keep playing shows and just try to keep having fun doing it. I mean, there's no mission other than to just enjoy making music, and it sounds cheesy to say being creative, but that's what it is, you know.
Hunter's branching out. He's written a couple of books. He wrote a book about the bass player from the Circle Jerks, Roger Rogerson, and then he just wrote a little booklet about, I'm sure you've seen that picture of Keepy Chodo hanging upside down in the basketball hoop.
Yeah.
Well, a friend of his, as a teenager, put that show on, and so he wrote this little booklet sort of from the perspective of that teenage kid who put the show on, and
yeah,
you know,
it's cool. It's a wild.
It's pretty cool that he's doing that sort of stuff.
Any last words?
What's that?
Any last words?
Thank you for speaking to an obscure, super underground band.
Well, I've known you for how many years now? I mean, I've been
Since the
seeing you at
80s.
shows. No, I've been seeing Billy at shows.
Like 84?
Yeah, since the 80s.
Right on.
So.
Yeah.
No, man. Thanks for giving a hoot.
And if you think of anything else, you could always write me in.
Yeah, and let me